I used to think I understood what it meant to grow. Read more books, try harder, meditate longer, set goals, crush them, repeat. That's what self-improvement looked like to me. That's what spirituality looked like, an endless path of betterment, always becoming, never arriving. But one night, alone in my room, surrounded by the same journal pages I had filled with affirmations and plans, I asked myself a question that shattered the foundation I'd been standing on. What if the person I'm trying to become doesn't exist? I sat with it, not merely intellectually, but viscerally. It hit me like a quiet earthquake, no noise, just internal collapse. My whole identity, everything I thought I was striving for, began to flicker like a candle in the wind. Who was I? And why did I feel like I had to become someone else merely to feel worthy? That question, simple, terrifying, liberating, changed everything. It made me stop, breathe, look around inside myself. For the first time, I wasn't chasing the next version of me. I was staring into the raw presence of now. And I realized something most people never do. We are addicted to becoming because we dread being. Let that sink in. All my spiritual practices, meditation, breathwork, journaling, they weren't making me free. They were making me better at pretending to be peaceful, pretending to be in control, pretending to heal. But the real me, the anxious, chaotic, uncertain, sometimes angry, often lost me. That part had been locked in a basement with the lights off. I had become an expert at building stairways to heaven while ignoring the fire in my cellar. And the truth is, I'm not alone. Most of us are walking around trying to escape ourselves. We don't call it that, of course. We call it ambition, growth, vision. But deep down, we're merely terrified to stop and ask, what if who I already am is enough? You know how scary that is. Because if you stop running, if you stop fixing it, nothing will happen left to distract you from the silence. And in that silence, the voices you buried start to whisper again. They say things you're not ready to hear. They show you wounds you pretended had healed. They bring up memories that don't fit your Instagram bio. But that's the place where truth begins. In the raw, unedited, uncomfortable honesty of your current self. I used to look at life like a ladder, always climbing, always reaching. But what I didn't see was the way that climb was slowly killing my spirit. It was exhausting me. It made me hate the parts of myself that couldn't keep up. I judged my sadness. I rejected my fear. I tried to meditate my way out of my humanity until I realized the goal was never to escape myself. The goal was to remember myself. This one question, what if the person I'm trying to become doesn't exist, forced me to confront how deeply I had abandoned myself in the name of becoming spiritual. I thought I had to become enlightened, but maybe the real journey is unlearning the belief that I'm broken. Think about that. We live in a world that sells us healing like a product. 5 steps to inner peace, 10 habits to change your life, morning routines that guarantee bliss. But what if healing isn't linear? What if healing doesn't look like progress? What if healing is less about doing and more about being with your sadness, being with your anger, being with the parts you hate, not to fix them, but to witness them? Because only in that honest witnessing do they begin to soften. You see, real transformation doesn't come from force. It comes from surrender. And surrender is not giving up. It's giving in to the moment, to the truth, to what is. I spent years trying to manifest a better life, better mindset, better energy. But I was using spirituality the same way I used achievement, as a weapon against my own inadequacy. I was trying to earn worthiness from the universe, but you can't earn what you already are. You are not broken. You are becoming aware of your wholeness, and that awareness doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing the illusion that you ever lacked. This is where philosophy meets psychology, where the ancient and the modern shake hands. The ego, as Freud described it, is always trying to build a self-image. But that image is fragile. It shatters under pressure. So we keep rebuilding it, again and again. Until one day we stop and ask, who is building this image? Who benefits from this performance? That's when awakening begins. It's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes in the quiet moments, when you're lying in bed and feel like you've failed again, when you've done everything right, but still feel empty, when you realize the way you're going doesn't lead home. It leads further into illusion. And so you stop walking, you turn inward, and you listen. I remember sitting in meditation one evening, not trying to feel anything special, not chasing peace, merely sitting. And in that stillness, a sentence formed in my mind. There is nothing wrong with you. I wept, because I didn't believe it at first, but part of me wanted to. Part of me knew it was true, even if the rest of me was still trying to earn it. That's the paradox. We seek what we already have. We try to become what we already are. And in that trying, we forget our essence. We lose our center. And so many of us are lost, not because we're weak, but because we've been trained to look outside for what only exists within. We've been told that success, love, freedom, peace, they are things we must earn. But what if they're not? What if they're our birthright? I'm not saying don't grow. I'm not saying give up on your goals. But I am saying this. Stop using growth as a disguise for self-rejection. Stop using healing as a disguise for control. Stop using spirituality as a ladder to climb out of the basement of your humanity, because freedom doesn't live in the future. It lives in presence. In the messy, real, beautiful now. When I stopped trying to become someone else, I finally met myself. And he was not perfect, but he was real. And that's when everything changed. Realness is underrated. We're so conditioned to perform, to show people our curated best, our carefully polished identity, that we forget how liberating it is to be raw. And yet, rawness is where the healing begins. Not in pretending you're okay, not in reciting affirmations you don't believe, but in sitting down, looking yourself in the mirror, and saying, I don't know who I am anymore, and maybe that's okay. I had to unlearn so much merely to hear my voice again, not the voice of my conditioning, not the voice of who society told me I should be, but the deeper voice, the one that whispered to me as a child before the world told me to be quiet. That voice doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It waits, patiently, lovingly, through the noise of your ambition and the chaos of your fear, until you finally remember it's there. That voice is your essence. The you beneath all the masks. And finding it again isn't about doing more. It's about undoing what's false. One of the hardest truths I had to accept was this. My suffering didn't come from who I was. It came from who I was pretending to be. The pressure to be enlightened. The pressure to be high vibration. The pressure to be emotionally regulated at all times was suffocating me. And the worst part, I thought I was failing when really, I was just human. I used to think spiritual awakening would feel like bliss. But what it felt like was grief, grieving the parts of me that were never allowed to exist, grieving the self I had performed to survive, grieving the time I had spent climbing ladders that led nowhere, and most of all, grieving the realization that no one was coming to rescue me. That sounds dark, but it's not. It's the beginning of empowerment. Because once you realize no one's coming to save you, you stop waiting. You stop outsourcing your peace. You stop bargaining with the universe. You stop asking, when will I be enough? And start realizing you always were. There's a power in radical self-honesty. Not the kind of honesty that tears you down, but the kind that sets you free. The kind that says, I'm tired of trying to become someone else just to feel like I matter. The kind that says, maybe I don't need to change to be worthy of love. Maybe I need to change how I see myself. We live in a world obsessed with self-optimization. And yes, growth is beautiful. But not if it costs you your soul. Not if it teaches you to reject your own shadow. Not if it makes you afraid of your complexity. Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. I didn't understand that at first. I thought it meant diving into pain, and sometimes it does. But it also means befriending the parts of you that you were taught to hide, the anxious part, the jealous part, the angry part, the lazy part, the insecure part. They are not your enemies, they are messengers. They are pieces of you waiting to be understood, not exiled. When I stopped judging them, they stopped screaming. When I stopped pushing them away, they softened. And in that softening, I began to feel whole, not perfect, not healed in some performative way, but whole in the sense that I was no longer divided against myself. And in that wholeness, I found peace. Not the peace of escape, but the peace of presence. The peace of saying, this is who I am right now, and that's enough. That doesn't mean I stopped growing. It means I stopped growing against myself and started growing with myself. I stopped trying to control my emotions. I started listening to them. I stopped trying to fix my mind. I started understanding it, and that changed everything. It changed how I speak to myself. It changed how I love. It changed how I show up in the world. Because once you stop abandoning yourself, you realize that authenticity is the most powerful energy you can embody. People feel it. They feel when you're being real. They feel when your peace is genuine, not forced. They feel that when your wisdom comes from experience, not performance, and that kind of presence is magnetic. It draws the right people, the right moments, the right opportunities, not because you manifested them, but because you stopped blocking them by pretending to be someone else. That one question, what if the person I'm trying to become doesn't exist, unraveled me. It deconstructed years of spiritual ego. It humbled me. It stripped away the illusions. And beneath all of that, I found someone I liked, not the ideal self, not the Instagram version of me, but the real me. And that, I realized, was the point all along. Spirituality isn't about becoming better. It's about becoming truer. And truth can be messy. It can be painful, but it's real. And realness is what connects us, not perfection, not enlightenment, just presence, just honesty, just love. So if you're on a spiritual path, ask yourself this: are you chasing peace, or are you remembering it? Are you becoming someone else, or are you finally meeting who you already are? Because the journey inward doesn't end in some cosmic destination. It ends right here, with your feet on the ground, with your breath, with your pain, with your joy, with the totality of your humanness, accepted without condition. And maybe that's all we're here to do, to remember what we forgot, to return to ourselves, to stop running, and merely be. Now, I want to ask you a question. What would happen if you stopped trying to improve yourself and started loving yourself? Let me know in the comments, because that one question might change your path too. And if this message resonated with you, if it cracked something open in your heart or helped you feel seen, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel. This journey is deep, it's sacred, and you don't have to walk it alone. Keep going. The truth you're looking for has always been inside you.